I am Ryan. This is After Dark. Super exciting to be doing this. I feel like we took a couple weeks off, maybe. And I feel like it has been too long. So I'm excited to get back into this. I am excited that we have one of the first guests that we had when we started doing this, however many freaking years ago. And he's a great friend. I'm honored to be able to say he's a great friend. And just an absolute legend. But first, let's pull in some of our regulars. Will Bennett, hello, my friend. How are you?
Well, sick, but I'm here.
Nursing a cold. Is it a cold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My kid got it from daycare a couple days ago, and you just saw the future, and
yep.
Here we are.
And you grasp it. Yeah. I remember the daycare days. That it was like you were just sick all the time. Eddie, hello, my friend. How are you?
Hey, it's 10 o'clock after the hour. Hey.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm excellent. And Brian, who's muted, will just wave.
I'm not muted.
Oh, I thought you were.
I can press the button. I know how to press the button. I'm the Zoom generation, man.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. That is true.
I'm 17 years old this week.
I since the last time we talked on air, I got a puppy, and I got a pug puppy named Gary. I have not been sleeping very well. It's like the dude gets up at like 6, and like because he's got that like puppy digestive system where he's still trying to figure it out, like every other day, like I go down to the crate and it's just like full of like liquid poop. And so it's like I got to get up at 6 and like take him out to the bathroom and then give him a bath and do all of this stuff. And it's just like, why do we do this again? You know, like I already had one. I could have just enjoyed that. Rick Malloy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so our guest tonight, and I apparently we're not as good friends as I thought we were because he dropped some bombs on me in the introduction before we came on. But he's a legend in the industry, and again, like I said, I'm happy to call him a friend, Mr. Tom Cram.
Yeah.
How you
That's
doing,
a heck
man?
of an intro. I don't know about this legend stuff.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
You also said that you weren't a hugger, and then you hugged me.
Well, you know, I've learned. I've learned how to. I've accepted hugging. I don't enjoy it, but I've learned that it's become like a thing that people do, and so I do.
Yeah. I give a pretty good hug.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
So one of my favorite things to do actually is when you hug a guy, you turn it into their neck a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, it's a good
classic. It super uncomfortable.
Yeah. I had a friend in college, and we used to play the bad touch game. Which would be like when you were having a conversation with someone that like someone important, and it was like you were having a real conversation, like he would come by and like whisk by, like just like
it's a bad. Oh, I love it.
Caress
like the nape neck or like, you know, whatever, and like just, and if you did that, like you lost.
Oh yeah. The first band I ever toured with, I remember the first like overnight gig we did, and everyone like had pajamas.
Okay.
And I just stripped down my boxers because that's how I roll.
Can you show us? Can you show us what you mean?
No, I keep that for the paid. I keep that for the paid site. But I remember our drummer was like, "Really? That's how it's going to be? We have to share a bed. That's how you sleep." I'm like, "That's what it is,
rock
dude."
and roll, man.
And I just as he's about to fall asleep, I just rubbed his cheek and was like, "Good night, Keith." He was not a fan.
Every band that I ever played in on tour, like we all slept in whatever clothes we had worn that evening, and then and then we got up and wore them the next day. Like that was like we would change clothes like once every like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, same here. It's just you change clothes when they got crinkly.
Yep.
BL though.
What's that?
BL though, the armpit, like, you know.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, you stink.
Oh.
I mean, there was one tour that I did where I was really into leather pants, and boy,
But what would you do in the gigs? There it is.
but
Shorts
those
on stage, leather pants everywhere else.
by the end of that tour, I believe I threw those pants out because there was no saving them from the odor that happened as a result of like, I don't know, 2.5 months.
I still have my leather pants.
Do you?
I wore on stage. They're in a drawer somewhere. I don't think I could fit into them now. But
I can't.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Can you try?
I haven't tried. Are you thinking about it now?
Yeah, now.
Yeah.
Eddie asked Will to take his pants off. I'm gonna ask someone to take his pants off.
Put your pants on.
Yeah.
I tried putting on some of my like gigging clothes from, you know, back in the day, and it's just a reminder of the relentless forward march of time.
Dude, if I try putting on clothes that fit me 2 years ago, it's a reminder of the relentless. All right. Well, Tom.
Yes.
So you dropped this bomb on me when we were talking ahead of time. So the first time that we had you on here, it was just me and Kai, and like I remember saying like ahead of time, like Kai is a phantom. He doesn't exist anymore.
If you say his name 3 times, he appears.
Hey, Michael Pinter, look at this. Michael Pinter's on. He makes really, really cool guitars. So that is, I own one. I enjoy it thoroughly. That's awesome. But I remember, like, you know, at that time you were ex Digitech DOD. And I remember, like, Kai and I spoke ahead of time. We were like, do we even bring up that Digitech DOD thing? I don't know. And you were doing, you know, like, it's kind of like if you're going to, like, interview Fogarty, like, do you want to talk about CCR or is he going to get weird?
Fuck those guys. Yeah, it makes for drama.
But, and you were doing Spiral full time at that point in time.
Yep.
Digitech reemerged under new ownership. They brought you back. You did some great stuff, and I didn't know this. Spiral Electric kind of went dark for a while there.
Yep.
And then I noticed that Spiral Electric started to pick up again. And what you told me is that you do not work for Digitech full time anymore.
That is true. So as of July 1st, that marked my year helping Digitech and DOD get reestablished with Cortec, get them back on their feet. And so in that year, we were able to bring back all of what I consider to be the current product stuff. And that was actually a huge amount of work. Then we released a new pedal, the Thonic Fuzz, and just barely recently the Jamman Solo HD came out. And so right at that year point was where I felt like I had done everything I could to help them out. And so I shifted back to Spiral full time, and now I'm just working as a consultant for them. And lately, since I've been so busy with Spiral, that means not really doing much of anything with Digitech and DOD. So I actually did a video about this for Spiral, but no one watched it, so no one freaking knows.
So, well, that's the internet for you.
Yeah.
Come on, Ryan, don't you do your research before these things?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
now I know.
Typically I would, but I'm like, it's Tom. It's Tom. I know Tom. I would have known this, but I didn't know it.
Hit me with the questions.
Well,
I'm-
one of the things that we kind of said ahead of time. Well, first off, you had the option. You had the option to continue on, you know, in your current state with Digitech and DOD, and you chose to go Spiral.
Yeah, so it's I don't want anyone to think that there's any type of negativity or bad blood, because that's that when the whole Samsung thing went down with Harman and Digitech and DoD and stuff, that was bad. I mean, there was they fired everybody, so it was like ruthless corporate bullshit. So there was a lot of negativity around that one. This is like the exact.
Can I interrupt for a second? Can you just give me some background, because I don't know that I know all the background.
Oh, okay. So in 2017, Samsung bought Harman International, and Harman International is like the bigger company that owns Harman Automotive, Pro Audio stuff, and Digitech and DoD were a very, very small part of Harman Pro. And so like Harman International is this huge multi-billion-dollar company, and then there's all these smaller companies that Samsung didn't care about. In fact, I joked all the time that I doubted, and this is a half joke because I'm half serious on it too. I doubt that Samsung even knew that they owned Digitech and DoD. That's how small the music, the MI part of it was. They didn't give a crap about it. So they fired everybody. And so that was in 2018. They fired everybody, and
from Digitech DoD.
From Pro Audio too. So yeah, so DBX, Lexicon, AKG, VSS, JBL, Digitech, DoD, et cetera, all those. So Pro Audio and the MI companies, they fired everybody because what they bought Harman for International was for the automotive. And like I said, the automotive was huge, and in comparison, we were nothing. But so here's where it gets weird. So it's not like Harman was great before Samsung. So because it was Harman was weird. So it was weird, but I'd worked there for 20 years. And so I didn't know any different. I didn't know that it was a toxic work environment and that kind of stuff. It was just work. And that's just how it was. And so after the whole Samsung thing, it was like the cherry on the shit sandwich. And at the time, I was just like, well, that's perfect. You know what I mean? It's like this has been, Harman was crappy, Samsung's crappy. I get it. And so I started my own company, and there's a whole other story behind that too. But once I started working for myself, and I started, making industry contacts that were, I already had a pretty good relationships with the most of the boutique guys and the smaller companies. And I still do, but it started getting deeper, and I got to see the other side, and so it was like a door opening. I was just like, holy crap, this can be fun. Not that it wasn't fun before, but it was like fun mixed with a whole bunch of angst and crap and terrible stuff.
You're like, these guys are stoned all the time. You can do that?
They're just hanging out and partying. Yeah, no, but I mean that's the thing is I'm sure that there are those out there that think that that's what happens, but we're all nerds, and we talk about guitars and nerdy guitar crap. So
yeah, no,
my partying days are long over, by the way.
Yeah, no, if you've been to NAMM, like or like had one conversation with Matthew Farrow, like, that it is a very nerdy industry.
Yep.
I mean, like I was saying, I had this like to me. I mean, there's so much of your DNA in DoD and Digitech, but like the thing that I thought was cool about Spiral was like you were like unencumbered, like you could do whatever you wanted to do, and you did, and it was like everything down to like the amazing like the boxes with the maps and everything about it was just very much you, and I think that was the difference between Digitech and Spiral was like And also knowing, I mean, that if you buy a Spiral electric pedal, it's made by you. You
me.
know, like, so.
Well, so the way that I described it when I was first telling my wife that I wanted to start the company and why I wanted to do it is, you guys know this, being part of the guitar community at large, and then even more, burrowed down to the pedal builder community. While there's weird stuff that happens like that, it's cool. Everybody's cool. We all have very similar interests. We all, whether we started from different angles or from different levels, coming up or coming down or whatever, it's, we're all interested in the same stuff. We want to make cool pedals, that help inspire musicians to play, because that's, we want to inspire our own playing. And so I think that is okay. So to answer your questions, so Spiral is kind of a love letter. It was me saying, yeah, I made some fun stuff with Digitech and DOD, but now here's the real shit. And, I had complete freedom. And so one of the things that I realized early on is at first I had like all these expectations about what, Spiral should be. And then before I even made the first pedal, though, I went on a road trip with Mark from Black Arts Toneworks. We went to a festival, and we drove through. He rode his bike. My bike was broken, but so I drove my car. We went through Death Valley. We went to down to the Palm Desert, camped, and so he was kind of grilling me, saying, you want to start this company? Why are you doing this? And I kind of laid out a plan of what I wanted to do. And we were sitting on a campfire one night, and he's like, dude, why you want to rule the world? And I was just like, I don't. I really don't. I just want to make cool shit. And he's like, just make cool shit. And so that's kind of what I do now.
Yeah.
I just make cool shit.
He's a cool dude. I think the Pharaoh fuzz is kind of like one of the best muff variants that anybody has ever made. Like, it is just so good. And like, I got to a point where, like, I think I have a bunch of different, like, just colorways of it.
That's a good looking pedal.
I think it's like because you could get them used on Reverb for like $120. So like, I was just like, I'll take the green one and the black one.
I've got on my pedal wall over here, I got my Black Arts row, and it's 2 rows. I've got a
Destroyer.
My favorite is this guy right here. I have 2 of these. This is his. What happened?
Where's that camera going?
My camera's my camera's got that stupid AI stuff, so it tries to follow me.
Oh, it's kind of cool.
The Lester.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a big muff with a Baxendal tone stack, and
I like that.
Rips. It's gonna follow me again. Sorry.
I can't remember what the Destroyer did. I just know it looked fucking badass. It was like a big Viking with the LED eyes. It's like, I need it.
Come on back here. Come on.
Technology. When I started doing demo stuff, I did a piece on like when you start doing demo stuff, you just kind of work on what you already own, and and I had all these like Pharaohs, and honestly, I mean, like, I had a Pharaoh on my touring board, and like, it was something that I used regularly. So I did a piece about how you could use it to do a bunch of stuff that isn't sleep, or like isn't a sludgy, whatever. And I got flamed like crazy. Like, all the comments from that video like went straight to the part of YouTube where they're like, you don't want to see this. And I messaged him to tell him that I did it. It was just kind of like, hey, I did this thing, and it's about your pedal. And he was like, you did it justice. You know, he's like, it's not, he's like, I didn't imagine it being used that way, but the fact that you used it that way is great. You know, and he was just super cool about it. His fanboys were less cool. But yeah, I mean, like I was doing like 60s pop with it and all this kind of stuff, and they were like,
Boo.
Is fuzz kind of your first love? Like Brian, I feel like fuzz is like your first love.
Yeah. It's also because it's the only thing I know how to do.
That's because
If
you
I
love
make
it
a pedal
first.
that's
So
not
it works
harsh,
out.
anyone listening, I suggest you steer clear of it.
Yeah, fuzz for me. I don't know. It is absolutely my first love. I mean, so even during the the pedal drought of the late '80s, when I was using a rack system, when I was in the studio, I'd have my various fuzzes that I'd plug into small recording amps and stuff like that, because you couldn't get a decent fuzzed sound through multi effects stuff. If you plugged a fuzz into the front of any rack system, I don't care who made it, it sounded terrible. It still sounds terrible through most of them. So yeah, so on stage, I'd have something programmed into my GSP 2101 that was fuzz-ish, but in the studio, I was using nothing but fuzzes. In fact, I wish I still had some of those, because I had an early version. It was one of the Civil Wars big muffs, and I traded that for like a champ, which then a great Fender champ, by the way, and then traded that for something that was terrible, but I can't remember what it was now. It was like a crappy bass.
Isn't that crazy? Like you can trace back the DNA of shit that you like shit that you traded away for something. And like, I feel like no matter what, like you always end in disappointment. Like the saga and the chain almost always ends. Will, you got a better for me?
I mean, my vintage 355 was a lot of trading maneuvers that ended up working out very well.
Except you ended up with a Gibson guitar.
It's true. It's pretty sweet though.
I love my Gibsons. I know that they can be a shit company, and I don't know if you know this, but for a long time I boycotted using Gibsons for any of my demos.
I'm in that right now.
Yeah.
Why is that? Let's discuss. I'm gonna have my scotch.
You start, Ryan.
Jesus Christ.
End your relationship with a multi-million-dollar company.
No, that relationship is long done. Trust me. Like anytime you end a phone conversation with "Why don't you fuck off?" the conversation is over. Like we're done. No, I had a call with them. They called me. They requested the call. We kind of came around to like compensation, and they kind of lined out the amount of work they wanted me to do, and it was pretty substantial. And I was kind of like, well, that's great. I'm stoked for all of this. Let's talk about pay. And they were kind of like, we're Gibson. We don't pay. And I'm like, oh, do I get to keep the guitars that you keep sending for this then? And they're like, no. And I was like, that's like the most anti-musician thing that there is.
Exposure
like you don't,
bucks, man.
Like you don't want to pay me for the work that I'm gonna do for you. No matter I don't care what Pete Thorne can put in the same amount of effort as me, and it is a much larger result, but it doesn't change the fact that we're putting in the same amount of effort, right? And so it was a really ugly conversation, and after I got done with that conversation, I had a bunch of vintage Gibsons, and like I put them all up that day.
Oh man.
And I think so. I think there's a thing with Gibson where it's like you can. I feel like I was in a place where I understood, like in my head, that they were a terrible company filled with terrible people who do terrible things.
Was this in the Henry Jeskowitz era, or was this after KKR saved them?
So this would have been 20. This would have been like 2020 something. So
Yeah, that's newer ownership.
Yeah, that's after Henry J.
and
Yeah.
that was when it was supposed to get good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like
Shift so the Heritages are in view and not the Gibsons. So we'll just
right. So
take
so
that.
right. So yeah. I mean that was really what happened. Is like I got rid of all the Gibsons and I called Heritage and I was like, let's talk about replacing my Gibsons, and we did. But and honestly, they're really Heritage guitars are just great. Like they're just really great guitars. But I think you can conceptually understand that Gibson is terrible and that they sue anybody and everybody all the time. And that they're anti-musician. They're just looking for blues lawyers. No offense, Eddie. They're looking for people that want to spend $10,000 on a Murphy Lab, whatever, and they don't really give a shit about the modern player. But it's a different thing to know that, and also like then it's a different thing to know that than experience
it firsthand.
that firsthand. And for me, it was just disgusting. Like it was just absolutely disgusting. And I've worked.
You can hear it in his voice.
I've worked with a lot of big guitar brands. I've worked with Fender. Fender is absolutely delightful. Like, I mean, they're just, I you know, like it's a different world. Like every guitar brand that I've ever worked with is completely different than that hour and a half that I would love to have back from my call with Gibson. That's where I'm at with them. But they're also really sexy guitars.
Yeah.
I see those vintage Gibsons and I see like even the modern ones and I'm like, man, that is like I feel like it's a real diet. It's a real boycott. It's not like I'm gonna boycott Chick-fil-A and I never ate
nuggets once in a while.
And I never ate at Chick-fil-A before. Like it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
You know, it's not
No combos.
Like it is one of those boycotts that actually affects me, and it is a struggle. So I'll leave it at that. Why did you boycott them, Tom?
Well, so my experience meeting the post, I met Henry and then I met the guys post, and they didn't know who I was, and why would they? But so what I mean by that is they were able to speak freely to me. They were able to treat me as just as another customer, which in other words is shitty. And
what was the nature of the interaction? Like, in what way?
At NAMM. So they thought I was just another schmuck coming up, to their booth. Which in truth, partly I was. I'm just another guitar player. But I think that if they had known I was an industry guy, they would have treated me differently. And that's neither here nor there. I mean, there are other companies besides Gibson that are not friendly. But the last straw for me was them trying to sue Heritage, and because they had a gentleman's agreement. Granted, that it was there were some different management shakeups and different people involved, but I believe strongly, especially in this industry, in gentlemen's agreements. Handshake agreements are a big deal. Any artist thing I've ever done, any collaboration I've done with other pedal companies, Black Arts, Shoe, DB Instrument Amp, those guys, those are all handshake deals. I don't believe in binding contracts and stuff like that because
Yeah.
you
Neither
know.
do I.
Yeah, just get Eddie out of the equation completely.
Well, so don't get me wrong. I mean that
Why
stuff
should I
has
feed
its
my
place.
family?
That stuff has its place. Don't get my wife's an attorney, so
I am
yeah,
so sorry.
so don't misunderstand. That stuff has its place, but guitar players are fickle and tastes change, and I would hate to be the guy that bound somebody to a legal agreement when they moved on to something else. It's so as far as I'm concerned, is if you again making cool shit. If you make cool shit, people are going to like it and they're going to want to stick around and use your stuff. And so that's, to me, that's the extent of the agreement. Now, when you start getting into, artist models and stuff like that, where, a cut of the profits are being shared, then it's time to call the lawyers. But, when it's but when it's just smaller agreements like that, I believe it in gentlemen's agreements. And so that being said, that's why I had the problem with Heritage, because there was a gentleman's agreement in place, and Gibson violated it.
Yeah, they settled that. They settled that lawsuit a year ago.
Yeah, it was just fairly
couple
recently,
years.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, they just had the Dean thing just came to a head too, and Gibson lost that.
Yeah, they lost that one.
Excuse me, please, but I'm like,
yeah, do it, go lawyer.
No, so what happened? I was just reading that decision. What happened with Dean was that Gibson won a trial, but the Dean's legal team had made a motion to include, or Dean's attorneys wanted to include certain evidence, right? Evidence of genericness, meaning like they wanted to show that Gibson's IP, the body shapes, whatever, had been used for like 30 plus years and thereby had become generic. And the trial court decided to, on Gibson's motion, exclude evidence of genericness going back like 25 years, and was like, we're going to give only a 5-year window or something like that. And they lost because Dean couldn't prove that like there was this huge long track record of other companies using Gibson body shapes, Gibson just sort of like doing nothing about it, and the body shapes becoming generic. Dean appealed, and the appellate court was like, yeah, you need to have a new trial because the court abused its discretion by excluding this evidence. In other words, the jury should have been shown evidence of all of this use of Gibson body shapes to prove that they had become, to try and prove them because they had become generic. At least give Dean the shot at arguing the case. And so they ordered a new trial. So the court ordered a new trial, the appellate court. So they're like, they didn't lose. They're just back sort of at square one, having to do a new trial. My guess is that they're going to settle because nobody's going to want to
see. That's
again, but it's also possible that Dean will be like, "Fuck it, let's go." Right.
So I for like the V, I can see that. They could probably get a trademark on the V, but the headstock. Okay, look at the Les Paul. So the Les Paul, I mean, if you go back to early electric guitar designs, there's like 4 other companies that were doing the single cutaway thing.
So the single cutaway thing has an interesting history because Gibson sued PRS over the single cutaway, Gibson sued Heritage over the single cutaway, and I think the headstock is, so you're talking about like what in trademark law we call trade dress, right? Like the product design, the aesthetic product design elements being something that makes the product readily identifiable and distinctive and thereby like recognizable for the consumer. Headstock shapes, I think, are pretty, to me, headstock shapes are pretty obviously trade dress in most cases. Body shapes, like, I think the V had actually been, what they wanted to show is that the V was used in, was the V shape, the Explorer shape, I think it was Explorer, that they had been used by manufacturers, you know, other than Dean.
Yeah.
And that's how they had become sort of generic. Now, is that a good argument or not? I don't know. I haven't seen the arguments. I haven't seen the exhibits. Like, but one of their other arguments was guitarists specifically, and I think there's some truth to this. I think one of their arguments, if I'm remembering correctly, was that, you know, the body shape doesn't exist in a vacuum. You always look at the headstock. Like, it's body shape. It's body shape attached to headstock. It's a whole package, right?
It's the whole thing.
Yeah, which is why, and I think that was that was an argument, and if not, they should have done it. But like the whole, my wife's home. But but my like when you look at Gibson versus Epiphone, right? The Les Paul body shape, you still have guitarists going, but it's not the Gibson because it doesn't have the headstock shape. Gibson released just now the Gibson, that like Epiphone, like
Inspired
custom,
by
inspired by
custom line.
Yeah, which honestly looks pretty cool. But you know, and it's a Gibson because I mean, it has the Gibson headstock shape. That's the big deal. That signifies that it's got the Gibson something. So it's like there's something to it. But yeah, I mean, it's can you like trademark a single cutaway? Probably not. Can you trademark like how you do a single cutaway? Like I don't know if you can see it up in front of me here. Where is it? Oh, no, it's blurred out. Hold on 1 second. Like if I show you, so that right there, my this guy, the Harmony, the
Right.
H74, like that's kind of a single cutaway, but it's got this unique little, you know, half dealie over here. You know, would that be, you know, trademarkable? I don't know. Maybe there's interesting questions. The whole point, the appellate decision, the whole point was Gibson should have been allowed. Sorry, not Gibson. Dean should have been allowed to make its case by presenting all this evidence and let the jury that was deciding the case decide. Okay, I'll shut up.
So
the Bigsby, first Bigsby electric guitar.
Yeah, the headstock shape there, right?
Yeah, but it also is a single cutaway, and that predates any Gibson design by a long shot. So I could see how they'd have a hard time, you know, trademarking the body shape for the Les Paul, and it stuck to the headstock. But the open book headstock that also predates. I mean, I've seen pictures of, you know, medieval era instruments and lutes that had the open book headstock. So I think that's a really weird patent for them or trademark for them to have. The V makes more sense to me, which strikes me as strange that, you know, Dean thinks that they have a leg to stand on there, because that is very clearly an original design.
I'll tell you
that doesn't have the book, you know, the open book headstock.
Yeah. I'll tell you from one who gets signed up for every like music gear PR fucking like list. The day that the Dean thing happened, I woke up to a ton of emails from all of the PR firms that represent Dean that were like, we won. You know, like it was just Eddie, what is this? Let's see this.
We didn't lose.
What's that?
These are Gibson. This is from Gibson's website. They list all of their trademarked, all the U.S. registrations for trademarked things that they have, right?
Including like the truss
rod
rod
covers?
cover.
Apparently, that's doesn't mean it's a good trademark, but they have a trademark on it. I didn't realize this.
What's that thing?
Which thing? You got to be more specific.
US,
the E in the middle?
477553.
That's like the Electar amps.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that is.
so then there's the Explorer.
Yeah, no, they got it. So Dean was trying to invalidate their mark.
And there's the V.
Yeah, so Dean was like, yeah, they have the mark on it, but they're trying to invalidate it by saying it's generic.
Huh.
So Okay.
Yeah. So there's a concept in trademark law called, and I'm not a trademark law expert, but there's a concept in trademark law called genericide, where something becomes. And this is maybe related to what they were arguing. Again, I haven't looked at all of their papers, but it's just things can become generic and thereby lose their trademark protection. So or become weaker marks. So Kleenex is a great example of something that's experienced genericide, right? Kleenex is it's a brand, right? But when you or someone who's probably older than most of us here, not says I want a tissue, they say give me a Kleenex, right? When
I say Kleenex.
Yeah. So what's another example? Oh, when you want to go photocopy something, what do you say? What's the verb?
You want to Xerox it?
Boom, right? Like that.
Those
like that.
You say that.
Yeah, that's a.
Yeah. Well,
Michael Page is saying Band-Aid, so that's another one too.
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid.
A great one. Yeah.
Q-tip.
So
Q-tip.
let me ask you this: why can guys like Brian at Spruce Effects put out a Big Muff?
Why can I or can't I?
Why can you? Why can you put out a Big Muff and say it's a Big Muff circuit and be okay?
I think it's because, and Eddie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but because
I was not giving legal advice.
Well, I don't think I have one. I have a muff style fuzz.
So it's all
my
how you
understanding
say
is that circuits can't be trademarked. The trade
yeah,
press
That's
can't
not
be actually-
entirely true. That's not entirely true. An original circuit can be trademarked, but
Well, it has to be novel.
yeah, it has to be novel.
Are you talking about patenting?
Yeah, patenting.
Yeah, will derail.
So if you come up with a new analog circuit, you can absolutely get it patented.
They also have to be. Patent also has to be non-obvious, and I don't know if any is any circuit out there anymore non-obvious, given that every circuit seems to have been made that will ever be made, or is it that people are not as smart as you are making pedals and they just don't do original things?
So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, Digitech, for example, came up with the freak out. So, but the thing there is that's digital. So that's algorithms, which of course you can patent and things like that. So the actual circuitry that's involved with making that pedal, you probably can't. Somebody could probably copy the freak out as best they could, but it wouldn't do anything.
Right. The software is
yes, the firmware inside, but there are still novel analog circuits to be discovered. Just no one's done it yet.
Yeah. So
that's like saying because there's 12 notes in the scale, there's no new songs to be written. That's not entirely true. The building blocks are there. Something novel can happen, and you can patent it, but it's going to be tough as hell.
This was not the comment that I wanted to show. Okay, so because EHX aren't douches, Michael, I really gotta kind of burst your bubble on this one. Mike Matthews, the first time that I met Mike Matthews was at NAMM, and they had just won a lawsuit with some Asian company. I don't remember which one. Mike was sitting in front of a blown up, they didn't have an EHX backdrop for their booth. They had a blown up version of him with them winning their court case behind him. And he was sitting and on the table in front of him was also all materials about them winning their court case. And also, Michael Page, Mike Matthews used to sleep in the factory in a cot with a sawed-off shotgun underneath the cot. And it was not because he was worried about people breaking into the factory. It was because he was worried about employees stealing shit. And he...
People pay rent in New York.
Oh, wait. This was what?
Mike Matthews used to sleep in the EHX shop
in New York City,
worried that
Not in like Bumblefuck, Kentucky. You're saying in
Right.
New York City.
Worried that
Oh,
employees
the city used to be a lot crazier once upon a time.
he was worried that employees who had keys might steal something, and if they were, he was gonna fucking shoot them.
I don't know if that's actually true.
You don't know that it's not.
Right.
I don't know that that's actually true.
Yeah, I went, you know, so I went through a cease and desist when I worked at Mass Distro. I went through a cease and desist from EHX with a company that we worked with, who we all know. And I'm not gonna
I remember this.
Was it the one in the comments?
what? I don't know.
There was one. There was a Thorpe brought up in the comments.
Oh no, it wasn't Thorpe.
Okay.
I believe Mass still works with Thorpe. This is one that we had and we parted ways. We actually ended up anyway. So and I experienced the full weight of the EHX legal department. And they have an IP group in-house on like it's not like I'm sorry, Michael, but they're just as litigious as anybody else. But you know, Mike Matthews rides around on a scooter and smells like garbage. So
I got CD'd from Interfax.
Yeah, that's another one. Like it's like what you made like 12 pedals.
Yeah, theirs was fair because I used the terms Interfax harmonic percolator on like my I wasn't using it like sketchily in a way to mislead anyone, but they argued their letter was about, you know, SEO stuff. So like they were arguing that like I was getting traffic for people looking up their product.
That's what Sean looks like with short hair?
I guess so.
Weird.
Looks like the full B team showed up.
Yeah, what happened?
He's at his mom's place.
Get her on here.
Yeah, get your mom on, Sean. Yeah, this is one of the
holy shit. Electro Harmonics hired Covington to litigate that lawsuit in China. You're talking about the lawsuit against Moore, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the
one where they had the pitch shifter where they stole all the code and they still left all of the watermarks in the code from EHX. Geniuses.
Well, what's crazy is that a Chinese court gave them a judgment, because I wouldn't expect that to happen. But the other shocking thing is that if they hired Covington, they charge a lot of money. I've got a lot of friends who work there. They charge a lot of money.
Eddie's gonna bust out the lotion and go through those documents tonight.
Yes.
Oh my
You're
God,
on vacation, Eddie. Enjoy.
Yeah.
I gotta wake up to a bunch of texts like, guys, it's pretty interesting stuff.
No, let me get my inhaler.
Oh my goodness! What?
Oh, man. All right, yeah, you got me. That's good. I am gonna go through it.
So we kind of veered off on a pretty academic tangent, didn't we?
Yeah, I forget where we started.
I forget too. What were we talking about?
I think it started with trading gear.
Oh wow! Holy cow!
Wow!
Yeah, we went way off the rails.
Yeah.
Yes. So every time
I
think if I trace back every story of me trading something and kind of like running throughout the whole DNA of the whole thing and the timeline of it and everything that ensued because of it, I always end up in a worse situation.
So let me ask you guys a question. I stopped about probably 15 years ago. I stopped selling electric guitars because I regretted every single one I got rid of, because something attracted me to them in the first place. And when I sold them, that something is now gone. Mm-hmm. Now, amps, pedals, that kind of stuff, I still sell that stuff, but guitars I keep. How about you guys? I regret every single guitar I've ever sold.
The last, in the last, I don't know how many years, but I have parted ways with 2 guitars. One of which was a Charvel Surfcaster that I sent to our friends at Scythe Guitars. At specifically Mark, because Mark had said that he had always wanted one. And I had one that was like literally in its case in my storage room, hadn't seen it in a long time. So it wasn't doing any good to anyone being there. So I sent it over to Mark. He refretted it and, did all the stuff he needed to do. And it's a great playing guitar now. And it's obviously in a much better place now than it was with me. The other one is actually kind of an interesting story, and it didn't come to light until fairly recently. Nystrom Guitars, Nystrum. He has a shop. He has a guitar shop, but he used to make guitars. And I found one of his guitars used on Reverb, and I bought it. And it was kind of a Jazzmaster style guitar. And initially, it was a hardtail Jazzmaster style guitar. Somebody had put a Vibramate on it by the time I got it. And I mentioned it to him that I had got this guitar. And he had the story of like sanding that guitar body in the rain. He was in the garage, but it was raining out. On the night that Robin Williams died. Like he knew, and he had followed that guitar kind of all throughout all of its changes. And I changed it too. I mean, like I had somebody pull out that Vibramate and put in a Mastery bridge on it and trem system and stuff like that. But he had followed all of that. And it was a guitar that I didn't play as much as it did. I don't think I played it as much as he loved it. And so because he has this shop now, one day I just packed it up and put it in a box and sent it to Nystrom Guitars. And
You're a good dude.
And said, "This is your guitar. This is not my guitar." And my understanding is that guitar hangs in the shop. Nobody can buy it. And it's he doesn't play it every day, but it's like it is his guitar, and he is able to remember every single second of building that thing. And it's his guitar. But other than that, yeah, I don't sell stuff. I mean, like I don't sell guitars. Guitars are just too. It's like for me, it's like you can make the argument with. Go ahead.
So that's your first point of contact for playing and sound.
Where,
like that's the thing.
You physically, it's the only part of the process that you are physically involved in.
I've always been the same. Like I look at amps and pedals as utility pieces, and then the guitars are what I get attached to. Like there's still some I've sold, but I have a harder time making that decision.
Another thing is,
do you remember every single guitar you sold?
Yeah. 100%.
Another concept is like the beater guitar. I don't have a beater guitar. Like I don't have a guitar that I care less about than the other ones. Like I don't see that. I don't see that concept as being viable for somebody like me. And like if you do, like I get it, but like for me, it's just like if I'm gonna own it and I'm gonna invest in it, it's gonna be something that I'm gonna love the absolute shit out of.
It's been a long time since I've sold a guitar, and I'm trying to sell one now because I want to buy a Scythe. So like I live in Manhattan, so
sold a guitar last week.
What's up?
I sold one last week.
What'd you sell?
A lot of you fucking up. Captain of industry, Will Bennett here.
Do you want to plug your guitar, Eddie? You want to just throw it up?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Tell us what you're
If anyone
selling.
wants to buy it.
Hold on.
I'm just teasing. You've already done that every week for the last like
Nice.
6
He's gonna-
Literally people are like, hey, how
That's a
much you
cool
how
case.
much you asking? I'm like, this is the price. And they're like, cool, I was just curious. I'm like, what?
Comes in a tweed hard shell case, folks. I can see that from
Yep.
here.
No, I sold my my RevStar because I got 2 of them. And I kept the nicer one.
Oh, great. Oh, that's a
That made sense.
Telecaster. That's a Warmoth Telecaster.
No.
No?
MJT. And then
MJT.
Oh, Nitro finish.
MJT, Music Craft, and you know.
So
So like $400.
Will, you know
It's a great it's a great guitar. I just don't have room for another, like, I physically don't have room. That's it. That's the whole.
That's what everybody says.
I literally physically don't have room.
I'll store it for you, Eddie.
All right.
Will, you know who's a big Yamaha guy? Tom Cram.
Hell yeah.
Tom Cram is a big Yamaha guy.
Oh, camera's doing weird shit again.
Oh, that's cool.
So this is my latest project. But I'm a huge Weddington fan, actually. So the Weddington era of Yamahas. Why does it keep following my face? Stop doing that. So Weddington.
That looks like a fucking PRS.
So Les Paul, but it has the
that looks like a
blade
switch on there.
That's cool.
This one here, I chased for.
I love this.
It's
this is the best.
Nabbit.
Check out that ring light.
There we go. So this is, you can't see it here, but it actually has a sparkle finish. It's really cool.
Okay.
But I chased this one for a long time. So it's probably going to swing around again. Sorry about that.
It's all right. We love the ceiling view.
Well, it tries to find me.
Oh yeah.
This one here is this is a totally, it's an S. Come on, camera.
That's fucking awesome.
Holy crap!
I've had this one forever. It's got Righteous Sound pickups in it.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
This guitar is a mongrel, and it's probably one of my best guitars.
What happened to the top?
So I got it for a deal because it was scratched. It had like a massive scratch that ran all the way from the upper curve. So it had to have gotten scratched with no strings because it went underneath the strings with this huge gouge. And so I was going to refinish it and paint it ebony black again. And I got down to the wood and I'm like, that looks really cool. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Nice. And I've left it that way ever since. It sounds awesome. So yeah, I'm a huge Yamaha guitar fan.
Tub, you gotta. Are you still? I mean, you got a band. Are you still gigging?
Yeah. No, so we're all old.
Yeah,
we might gig, but the problem is everyone in the band expects me to rustle up shows, and I'm not going to do it. Those days are behind me. So if a gig falls into our lap, we'll probably do it. But I'm not going to go and hustle shows. Fuck that shit.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I'm a sideman, so you know, like that's kind of my life. You know, where it's just kind of like gigs. As long as somebody else is booking,
someone else doing the booking.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I did the thing too, where like I had my own band. And I was responsible for doing that stuff. And like, what a thankless fucking gig.
So we didn't hear what Brian had to say about his guitars.
My guitars? How much time do you have? I
have 1 minute to go.
I sell guitars. I don't, I'm not nearly as romantic as Ryan is about them. I buy them oftentimes for reasons outside of playing them. So I like stuff. I like things. I collect things, I guess. So I oftentimes buy a guitar because it makes me feel a certain way, but not often from the way that it plays or makes me feel when I play it. But like when I look at it or hold it or smell it even. So I have a lot of, sorry.
You had a really substantial vintage amp collection. Like mint. My mint wasn't mint enough for you, vintage collection.
That's why I never sold it. I still have it. Yeah, I've had so many different amps. I've had like a bunch of the same guitars, and it's just like I like the hunt. I like getting them. I like opening them up. I like the way that they smell, and I don't know if I've ever told you guys this story, but I was in this small coastal town in Massachusetts like a few years ago, buying this like deluxe electric mistress, and off this old woman on Craigslist, and her brother was like in this band with Chevy Chase in the 60s called Chameleon something or other.
I didn't know Chevy Chase had a band.
Yeah, he did. And she was like, oh yeah, he drank himself to death in the basement. He's got all kinds of stuff. And then so I took home like the Silvertone or a K Speed Demon with 3 pickups, mint condition. It all smelled like someone had been like barfing, booze, puke all over it for 30 years. And it was just like some of the coolest stuff. And it was just random. I love that interaction with people and that kind of stuff. More than I love the guitar.
I think one of the cool things about your guitar collecting, Brian, in general, is like you go for that kind of Sears K, like harmony stuff. And like I know, like whenever I'm interested in, like, and I think Eddie's probably the same. Like whenever we're interested in any of those, like we run it by you first because you probably had 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
He actually, he literally stopped me from buying I forgot what it was. It was like the red double cutaway with the mustache gold foils, like one of the Rockets, and you were like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, those necks stuck.
I'm seeing Justice from Fuzzimp is asking me if I have any SG 3000s.
Yeah. How many?
I don't actually. So the one I showed you there that's an SBG 15 something or other. But SG 3000s are too rich for my blood. Those are like $4,000 now.
They are, and there's still. I mean, Yamaha still makes them. They just. I don't think anybody realizes like how big Yamaha is outside of North America, and. Like bigger than Gibson, bigger than Fender, and so when I have talked to my Yamaha rep about purchasing an SG from them, paying, probably getting a 15% discount, but not much. He's like, if I can get one here, he's like, but he's like, Asia gets first pick, Europe gets second pick. Chances are they're not going to make it to North America. It's just never going to happen. And I mean, here I am to this day, and I still don't have one because, like, I mean, that's the reality. And
there's a store up here that's got 2 of them when I walked in, like new ones. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And you're,
they're sweet. They're sweet. Yeah. I mean, I very nearly picked up the McGeoch model from Eastwood. Just because the price was right. But I've tried a couple of other guitars and I was not terribly impressed. So I'm hold. What do we have here?
I do a lot of work for Eastwood.
Oh, do you?
I do.
They paid for this podcast. So.
Yeah, they're the sponsors.
Yeah, are they? Check, Tom.
So they were great guitars, but
no, it's I will admit, and I get them. Like when I get them, they ship them straight from the factory to me, and they come in all kinds of different shapes and forms. But that's also, I can say the same for Fender. Fender sends me stuff straight from the factory, and I've had I had a $2,000 Telecaster from them where the neck was so far off the joint that the high E string just hung over air. It was.
Well, we were hacking on Gibson earlier, and despite the fact that you can see some Gibsons back there, it took me literally 10 years to find a gold top that I was happy with.
It's weird that you got to find
is all over the place.
Yeah, you got to find the right one, and and it takes 10 years to do that. That's
now I'm gonna assign you a task. Since you have connections with Eastwood, you need to get one of the McGeoch models.
I should
and try it out and tell me what you think. Because if it's cool, I'm gonna get one.
I will say this for Eastwood stuff. I think with a little bit of love, you know. I think they're really great guitars. Some models are better than others. I have one in right now that's it's a copy of a Mosrite Blues Bender, and it is one of the coolest guitars that I've played. It sounds amazing. It looks amazing. It's got a German carve on it. Super cool. But then, you can definitely get in the other ones where you're like, oh, this is I think some of it is novelty, and I don't think that I would be I don't think anyone at Eastwood would disagree with me by saying that. I mean, but so some is novelty and some is and some of the stuff is really, really great. But yeah, I should check that out. But my story with Yamaha was that when the guy who is now my rep reached out to me, he was like, we want you to do something on the Revstar, the first Revstar. And I was like, well, why don't you send me the Japanese one and, whatever. And he was kind of like, I can't, he's like, he's like, if I do, it's going to be a while. He's like, I can get you one of the kind of standard Indonesian models if you want the work now. And I was like, okay, whatever, just send it over. And it was like absolutely one of the best playing guitars that I ever owned. And to the point when they did the second Revstar, he was like, do you want a Japanese one? I'm like, no, just
send me the
Indonesian one. And I
We're
did
so close. It's crazy.
I finally asked him, I was like, how do you do this? Because I've played $3,000 Duesenbergs that were made in Korea that were garbage. How are you guys doing this? And he was like, oh, it's really simple. Fender doesn't own their factories overseas. We do. He's like, we own our factories everywhere. And so we can do the same kind of QC that we would do in the US market in Indonesia or wherever the hell else we feel like it, because it's ours. The only thing that's different is the location. And obviously the cost of labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a really cool company, and it's like one of those where it's like you got a really, really great guitar and you're like, man, I could really use a jet ski, and they're like, well,
now that you mention that,
grand piano.
So for the longest time, you got, as guitar players, you hear through the grapevine lore, bullshit that builds up, and what I heard from friends was that Yamaha guitars were soulless and heavy dead planks of wood, stuff like that. And I believed it for a long time until I played a Weddington for the first time, and I was completely knocked out. And I played Revstars too at NAMM, and the Revstars are of that same quality. Revstars kick ass.
Yeah,
and I'm a huge, like I said, I'm a huge Yamaha fan.
They're under $1,000.
Yeah,
it's just it's really, really crazy.
I've never tried a Revstar. I love.
They're really nice.
They're really nice.
The standard series one is crazy. I have the standard, and I don't have the standard anymore. I sold it last week, but I have the standard and the pro, and it's ridiculous how close they are.
Yeah,
probably should have sold the pro and had more money in my pocket, but I like the gold top more.
Oh yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Guys, we are over our time. I feel like, Tom, we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours on end.
Same. And
I absolutely appreciate you coming on tonight and spending some time with us. And I'm really glad that you're back doing Spiral, because Spiral is you.
Thanks, guys.
That's a cool company. We I don't know what we have lined up next, but we'll figure it out at some point, and we'll let everybody know. So thank you, Will. Thank you, Eddie. Brian's gone. And yeah, thank you, Tom. Man, thank you so much for spending some time.
Good hang. Good to meet you guys too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
All right, here we go.